going over Math 5, quiz number 2 on sections 1 and 2, taken on September 10th, 2018. Directions: show all your work in the space provided, and then box your answers for the free response question. Number 1. One of the most missed questions. I highlighted here in pink. What does that say, class?
Number of rows.
Does it say the total number of boxes or cubes?
No.
No. So here is what a row is. That's one row. 1, 2. That's 2 rows. Then the third picture has 3 rows. So n or I equals 1, 2, 3, 4. That's the picture number. And then up here is the total number of whatever it is. This one has 1, 2, 3, 4. Or you can also read the rows going this way. 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is an arithmetic. It's an arithmetic because you have a common difference of 1 plus 1. 1b, write a numeric sequence to represent each given pattern. Well, I already have the numbers 1, 2, 3, and 4. All you had to do is just add the numbers 5 and 6. If you got all of those numbers, you got 2 points. If you wrote just half the list, then I gave you 1 point. 1c, circle 1. The pattern is an infinite because you can keep adding more rows. Question 1d, calculate the sum of the first 6 terms. Okay, you can add up the 6 terms in 2 ways. Number 1, you can use sigma notation. You're just adding up the first 6 numbers, and then you're showing me 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 plus 6, and you get 21 as your answer. You can also use Gauss's or finite arithmetic. Sn equals n times a1 plus an over 2. Your n value is 6. Your a1 value is the first number on the list, which is 1. Let's write that. And then your last number on the list is a6. 1 plus 6 is 7. 6 times 7 is 42. 42 divided by 2 is 21. That question was out of 4 points. If I wrote on your paper SW, you just had the answer of 21, you didn't show your work, I gave you partial credit. On the test next week, if you get a correct answer with no work, I'm going to give you a 0. So class, what are you going to do?
Show our work.
Show your work. Okay. I don't know what that says. Foreign language, I don't know. My handwriting. Neatness, Mr. Next question. Here's a list of numbers. -2, 4, -8, 16, -32. This sequence is a geometric. It's a geometric because my ratio is -2. There's 2 ways of finding the ratio in that problem. You can just recognize that you're multiplying by -2 on each of those numbers. Or you can use a strategy you actually learned in your previous math classes in similarity triangles, is finding a scale factor. You take the second number divided by the first number. So 4 divided by -2 gives you -2. You can take the third number divided by the previous number. -8 divided by 4 is -2. And you can keep doing that for all of them and recognize that you have -2 for all of them. Okay, pay attention here. A lot of students kind of just didn't even circle it. The common, circle 1. Difference or ratio, it is a ratio, and it is -2. Each of those blanks were 1 point each. Question 2c says, calculate the 12th term. The 12th term is the nth term. Well, if I want to find just one particular number, I'm going to use the explicit geometric, because this is a geometric because of the common ratio. The formula is Gn equals G1 times R to the n1 to the n minus 1 power. This is a base and this is the exponent. I need to find the 12th term, so my n value is equal to 12. G12 is equal to my G1 value, if you number out your list, is -2. Your r value is also negative 2, and then the exponent is 12 minus 1. Here you have basically negative 2 multiplied by 12 times. You can put that in your calculator. Now the common mistake for students is over here, they didn't realize that this is an exponent. Super small number, postscript in the top right. They thought it was r times n minus 1. So a lot of students wrote a big 11 over here, and they multiply 11 times negative 2, got negative 22. That would be incorrect. Let's practice putting that in your calculator so you can see it. I'm going to put in my calculator. I put parentheses. So parentheses, negative 2, caret, 12. Press equals. And you get a positive 4,096. This is the correct answer. Notice what happens if you don't put a parentheses. Negative 2 to the 12th power. You get a negative, which is wrong. And it's not the calculator's fault. It's the inputter's fault. That's your fault. Because the calculator knows its order of operations. It's reading it as negative 1. It's leaving its negative 1 out of the answer. 2 to the 12th power is 4,096, and then it multiplies it by negative 1. So hopefully you didn't do that mistake. I give you 3 points if you didn't simplify the exponents. Maybe you didn't know how to do that there. Remember, that problem was out of 4 points. Again, you should be writing how to do the problem correctly on the right side to do it all over again. Just in case I give you the same exact problem, maybe I just change one number. And also you're writing a sentence. And then the can, or the inky. Fill in the blank squares so that each row and each column contain all the digits 1 through 4. Numbers and cages may repeat as long as they are not in the same row or column. First thing I'm going to do is I recognize that this is a 4x4. 4 boxes, so I'm only going to use the numbers 1, 2, 3, and 4. They're not going to repeat in a column, and they're not going to repeat in a row. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look for the freebies. Point to the freebies, here, and here. It's a freebie because there's no math operation, and it tells you to write a 1, to write a 4. The math operations tell you in this cage that these two numbers must add up to 5. These two numbers must multiply to be 4. These two values must subtract to be 1. This is not a negative 1, and it doesn't matter the order. Well, order does play a part in it because you can't have any repeating numbers. So in this problem, if your can looks like this, you got 4 points, and if you tried it and got it wrong, you get 1 point, and you can just try again over here. That side was worth 23 points. Alright, let's go over the back side. Alright, I'm going to highlight this because I think you need to pay attention to this. This one talks about the total number of boxes. So remember, your n value represents the picture number. So this is picture number 1, picture number 2, picture number 3, number 4. And then you can calculate or count up the number of boxes. So this has 1, 3, 6, 10. The next one has 15 and 21. And all you had to do from there, it says the following pattern can be described as, circle one of these, arithmetic, geometric, or neither. The answer is neither. The reason why it is neither is because if you look what's happening, I cannot multiply a number, a constant ratio from 1 to 3 or 3 to 6. Although you are adding, it is not a common difference. You're adding 2, then adding 3, then adding 4, then adding 5, then 6. There is a pattern, right? But it's not this, you're not adding the same number. So the answer is neither. You got 2 points for filling out the numbers in the list. And then you add the 5th and the 6th number. That would be 15 and 21. Question 4C says circle 1. The pattern is finite or infinite. The answer is infinite because you can keep adding. Okay. Question 4D. Calculate the sum of the first 6 terms. Well, think about this. If it's not arithmetic, then I cannot sum. I cannot use the arithmetic series formula. If it's not geometric, I can't use either of these. So what can you use? You can use summation notation, or simply just adding these numbers up. I started with the first number, which is 1, and I ended with the 6th number in the list, which is 21, and if I add those up together, I get 56. Now remember, on a free response question, you do have to show me work. So, over here, I gave you 2 points if you have the answer, meaning you have 56, but there's no work. If I wrote SW, what does that mean, class? Show your work. So all you had to simply do is just write 1 plus 3 plus 6 plus 10 plus 15 plus 21. Even if you did it in your calculator, it tells me that I know what you're doing rather than you just kind of answer from you were being lazy or maybe you did something else. The next question. Here's my numbers in my list: 60, 53, 46, 39, 32. If I recognize what's happening to each of these numbers, the numbers are getting smaller. If they're getting smaller, then I'm adding a negative number. I'm adding -7, or I'm subtracting 7 from each of those. It's an arithmetic. So circle 1. Circle 1, the common difference, and is -7, not +7. 5C, the sum of the sequence for the first 10 terms, there's your hint, 10 terms, to the left, so it's saying look at these numbers, is, so what is the answer? So over here, the numbers are decreasing, and some students did this, totally fine, not wrong. They calculated or just wrote out all of those numbers. They kept subtracting 7, so 25, 18, 11, 4, -3. And then they just added up all those numbers. But here, I could make the numbers a lot. I can say like, find the 30th number on the list, and it'll probably be too long of a list. So here, what I did is I used 2 formulas. I used the explicit arithmetic formula because this helps me find just one specific term. In this case, I want to know what the 10th term is. an equals a1 plus d times n minus 1, where your n value, your nth value, is the 10th value. N is equal to 10. Your a1 value is 60. Your common difference is -7. And your n value is 10. And then here I'm just using the order of operations. 10 minus 1 is 9. Then I'm going to do multiplication. -7 times 9 is -63. 60 minus 63 is -3. If you stopped here and you told me that this is the answer, this is the 10th number in the list, but it is not the sum of the first 10 numbers, I gave you 2 points out of 4. You're going in the right direction. You also got 2 points if you just wrote down a correct formula but didn't know what to do. With this number now, I can use the Gauss's formula, or finite arithmetic series. I know it's arithmetic. I know it's a series because I'm adding up numbers, a sum. So I'm writing down this formula. N is our 10 value. A1 is 60 from over here. My AN value is -3 because that's the last number in the list that I'm looking for, divided by 2. So 60 plus minus 3 is 57. 57 times 10 gives me 570. And then 570 divided by 2 gives me 285. The sum of all these numbers is 285. Now, if you just simply expanded all those numbers and you added them, I gave you full credit. But remember, I can change this to the 100th term. Do you see the difference there? Question number 6, multiple choice. Describe the pattern below. I recognize that this is 4 circles going down and 6 across. There's a total of 24. 2 and 6, this gives me a total of 12. So notice the strategy I'm doing. I'm taking the pictures and I'm making a list of numbers. I see 1 times 6 is 6, and then I count a total of 3. So I notice that the numbers here are dividing by 2. Remember, dividing by 2 is the same thing as multiplying by 1/2. The numbers are being multiplied by 1/2. So that would be B. Each figure has half as many numbers as one before it. The common mistake would have been C. There's twice as many. That would be multiplying by 2, not dividing by 2. Question number 7. Tricky question. Shelby's printer had 500 sheets of paper in it. After Monday, there are 466. So I simply just wrote the days of the week, and I wrote how many there were. After Tuesday, there are 432. After Wednesday, 398. If this pattern continues, how many sheets of paper will be left on? After Friday. They skipped Thursday. So if I recognize what's happening, I just put in my calculator 500 minus 466. I'm subtracting 34. That means on Thursday there's 364. The common distractor or wrong answer would have been D. That's wrong. You subtract another 34, you get 330. The correct answer is C, 330. And if you count up all the points on that page, my TA's counted them up. You got 21 points on that page. And then the front side was 23 points. So they put your pre-score up here. Hopefully you don't have any boxed answers, like you didn't forget to, or it was messy. And then your final answer is circled there. Hope the quiz corrections were helpful for you. Question 9, it says solve in interval notation. Here you have 3 times the absolute value plus 6 less than 15. Let's simplify the problem. Let's just say it says 3x plus 6 equals 15. Most students would not do this, but would you normally divide by 3? Dividing 3 would actually not be wrong in this problem, but normally you would probably subtract 6 first, yes? And you would get 3x equals 9. And you would actually do the same thing here. You're going to subtract 6 first, and then you're going to divide by 3. If you divided by 3 first, then I marked you wrong, and you only got your 1 point. Probably about 1 out of every 2 students divided by 3 first. I'm trying to isolate the absolute value sign, so I divide by 3. I have this absolute value divided by 3. Now, once you have your absolute value signs isolated, you make 1 plus and 1 minus. On the plus sign, the parentheses are not needed. So I can drop the parentheses, subtract 2. 1/2 x is less than 1. Okay, for those who did here, I think the easiest is just to multiply by the reciprocal, which is 2. And you get x is less than 2. Probably about 1 out of every 10 students try to divide 1/2 on both sides, and then they had 1 divided by 1/2. 1 divided by 1/2, you change this to what? Multiplication, and you change that and you get 2, and you multiply across, and 1 times 2 is just 2. So a lot of students again try to divide by 1/2 and they got stuck there. You should also be thinking about this key word here. Absolute value inequality with less than means and. Right? My interest in someone else is less, so I just have and. I'm going to stay together. I'm going to divide by -1 on both sides. The argument stays the same, and then you flip the inequality sign. Subtract 2. -3 minus 2 gives you a -5. Same thing over here. 1/2 x greater than -5. I'm just going to multiply by 2 on both sides, and you'll get x is greater than -10. To put those back together, x is less than 2 and x is greater than negative 10, smaller number on the left, bigger number on the right, variable in the middle, and you just follow your inequalities. They are pointing towards negative 10, and here they're pointing towards the x, or away from the 2. Now this is your answer for inequalities, but it asks you for a solution in what? Interval notation. So I might have circled that. If you got this here without interval notation, you got 3 points. If you got x is less than 2 and x is greater than negative 10, I gave you 2 points. So interval notation, negative 10 to 2 are our solutions. Question number 10. Given the line y equals 2x minus 4, find the equation of the line perpendicular to the given and through the points 1, negative 3. Write your final answer in point slope form. The first thing I need to do is, based off of this equation, I need to find the slope. Well, it's already in slope-intercept form. I called this first line, line 1. Line 1 is y equals 2x minus 4. I don't really care about the y-intercept. What I care about is the slope here. The slope of the first line is 2. Then it asks me about lines that are perpendicular. Perpendicular lines and their slopes are a product of negative 1. Should have had that in your formula sheet. m1 times m2 equals negative 1. So if my m1 value is 2, then I just need to solve for the slope of the second line. To do that, just divide it by 2. The slope of the second line is negative 1/2. A popular answer was positive 1/2. Another way you can get that is the story I told you, is the negative reciprocal. Reciprocal of 2 is 1/2, and the opposite of that is negative. Once you have a slope of negative 1/2, and you have the order pair, it has to go through that order pair 1, negative 3, label it x1, y1. You have a point and you have the slope, therefore I'm going to use point slope form. Point slope form, y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. If you wrote that formula down, I give you 2 points. To do the substitutions, remember you have to have this minus sign. Your y1 value is negative 3. Your x1 value is a positive 1. Here you need to simplify. Y plus 3. Your m value is negative 1/2. That was the slope that we just figured out. And then this is your equation in point slope form. In that problem, if you just did the substitution, if you got y plus 3 equals, a lot of students had like m times x minus 1 or positive 1/2, then I give you 3 points. 2 points if you wrote down the formula. I would say the most missed questions were numbers 9 and 10 of the whole quiz. Back side was out of 16. Front side out of 14. And you should have had a total of 30. Hopefully you didn't lose any points for writing your name messy, you didn't box your answers, or you are messy. And then that's your final score.